Welcome to Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Your host, V&M General Manager Kevin Jean and Daiwa Ranger Pro Staffer Steve Graff will keep you up to date on what's happening on the best lakes in the Ark-La-Tex region, with a primary focus on Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend, two guys who have fished at a high level with Pro-Am experience with ABA, BFL's Toyota Series, and BASS Opens. Anglers with a wealth of knowledge and willing to share. So pull up a chair, kick back, and see why so many anglers watch Tackle Talk Live. Here are your hosts, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
Welcome to Tackle Talk Live, right here in the heart of Northwest Louisiana, Natchitoches. I'm Ranger Diver Pro Staffer Steve Graff, along with V&M General Manager Kevin Jean, running the board, producing this show, NSU graduate James Stanfield. Today's show, we got something special lined up for y'all today. I think you're going to like it. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be definitely cooler talk, so to speak, because this is going to get people to thinking and talking a little bit about the topic we have for today, Kevin.
It's opinionated, and this will all be our opinion, our guest opinion. We'll have Clint Wade on from Outlaw Outdoors, tournament director, right there from Outlaw Outdoors. But Clint's going to give us two different aspects. He's going to give us his point of view from a tournament director, and then as a local fisherman. Because when Clint and Stacy, his wife, are not running the tournaments, they're fishing. They fish any and everything that comes to Sam Rayburn that they're not hosting. So he's going to give us his 2 points of view from both those angles.
And we're talking about basically why has tournament participation dropped off. That's what's going on. We're just curious.
Especially in our region.
Yeah, it's not just gas. I mean, the economy. Look, one guy posted something that I thought was very poetic. He said, if you can afford an $80,000, $90,000 bass boat, you can afford to put the gas in it.
Yeah, that's very true.
That was true. And I was like, you got a point. The guys that are pulling these boats and these rigs, really though, Kevin, when I look at my trips I've taken this year, it ain't the gas and the boat, it's the truck, the travel, getting there and back.
Getting there, yeah.
From Eufaula, five hours away, to Alabama, 10 hours away. I mean, it's
There's
a lot
more
of gas.
to it. There's more to it. Now,
yes.
Don't get us wrong. That has a lot to do with it.
Yes.
But we feel like there's more to it, and we've got a whole list of issues that we think might affect. I would say, in my opinion, I think it's a little bit of everything. Every topic we have knocks about 3 to 5 boats out of every tournament.
Exactly.
And when you go through this long list of tournaments, you're about 50 to 100 boats short, depending on what tournament circuit you're talking about.
Yeah. So hopefully today, Clint Wade with Outlaw Outdoors and the Toyota Series tournament director, Mark McWha, will give us, again, their viewpoints as to why they think the numbers are down.
And I'm anxious to hear Mark's point of view from talking about the East Texas region, Louisiana, East Texas, compared to everywhere else he goes.
Yeah.
So I want to hear his point of view on that.
And what kind of prompted this show today was we posted a Facebook poll last week we posted that about, what do you think the problem is? Is it gas prices? Is it or is it forward-facing sonar? Now, that threw a loop for a lot of guys. They were like, forward-facing sonar? Well, between me and Kevin, we've heard some people talk about.
We're going to jump into that. We're going to jump into
how that has
made
that's one of the reasons they gave for not fishing tournaments right now. So we're going to talk about that as well. And
but one thing that we did not realize nor think about until it got posted a lot on our post was the amount of circuits, fishing circuits, and he said it's just got the angler spread thin. Take 2 weeks ago, the Big Bass Splash was on Toledo Bend.
Yeah.
The Texas Team Trail was on Sam Rayburn. Those wait sites are 35, 40 minutes apart.
Exactly.
So there's just not enough fishermen to go around to fulfill the amount of tournaments, big tournaments that we have going on. Also, Steve, high school fishing.
Yeah.
How much has it affected the entry fees? How many? Because there is a high school fishing tournament every weekend somewhere.
Yes.
Some league is everywhere, and they have to have boat captains. And most of those boat captains, if they wasn't a boat captain that weekend, they would be fishing somewhere else.
Yep.
So we can go right on down the line of reasons, and we're going to give the reasons we think. We're going to hear from our guests, and it's going to be an interesting show.
Yes, it really is, and we're going to find out more. We're going to have our first guest here in just a few minutes. First, we're going to take our first break. You're watching Tackle Talk Live.
Toledo Health is a full-service primary and acute care clinic. Nurse practitioners Jarrett Rule and Melissa Vines bring quality health care that's needed and convenient to the area. Whether it's a stomach virus or a hook in your hand, Toledo Healthcare will try and meet all your healthcare needs. Appointments available and walk-ins are always welcome. So the next time you're feeling down at Toledo Bend, stop by Toledo Healthcare, located on Highway 6 just south of Toledo Town, or you can call 318-508-5323. For all your boating needs, check out Shreveport's newest marine dealer, The Boat Shop. Raymond Kidd and his great staff will take care of all your engine repair needs or anything else that needs fixing. A certified Yamaha Mercury dealer, they carry two of the best fishing boats on the market, from Sea Arc and Camus. The Boat Shop is never short on trade-ins, as they're always willing and able to make you the best deal possible. Looking for great boat accessories? They're a full support Garment and Minn Kota dealer. So the next time you're in the market for a new or used boat, or maybe you just need to service the boat you have, let the Boat Shop fix you up. To learn more, call 318-402-0399 or go to ShreveportBoatShop.com. The next on I-49, just south of Natchitoches, Louisiana, stop by Cypress Knee Outdoors. A store within a store, Cypress Knee is located inside 3J's four-way. Whether you need gas, food, or drinks, they have it. While you're there, check out Cypress Knee Outdoors and pick up whatever hunting or fishing tackle you need. Top name brands like Strike King, Santone, Spro, or the #1 soft plastics made, V&M. On the hunting side, they carry guns from Mossberg, Winchester, and Remington. Plus, they've got a great supply of ammunition. Let John Abram and his staff show you everything Cypress Knee has to offer. Located just 1 mile east of 127 on I-49, or call 318-238-HUNT. You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Now back to the guys with all the inside scoop, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
You're watching Tackle Talk Live. Thank you for tuning us in today. I want to recognize these fine sponsors: Toledo Health, The Boat Shop, 3J's Four-Way, home of Cypress Knee Outdoors. Again, exit 127, just east of I-49. Stop in there on your way through the Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend. Pick you up some great V&M. They have a great selection of V&M baits, and pick you up a Crispito, some fried chicken, a hamburger. They got it all right there. They got a great deli to choose from. So make sure you stop in. Cypress Knee Outdoors, located inside 3J's Four-Way. All right, on the Tackle Talk hotline, Clint Wade of Outlaw Outdoors. And Clint, you know, as a tournament director yourself, I know you've probably seen some numbers, but Kevin and I have been noticing, we looked at a lot of circuits, and numbers are down. And when I posted the poll question on our Facebook page, you know, is it gas? Is it the economy? What is it? Is it forward-facing sonar? You know, what are the reasons why some of these guys aren't fishing?
And Clint, I want to make this clear. This is not a talking to you because Outlaw Outdoors numbers are down. That's not the case. Every tournament trail, and Clint, you know this, every tournament trail, Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn mostly because it has the most tournaments there, everything that has came, every weekend, there's been a tournament on Sam Rayburn. It does not have the numbers it's had in the last 2 to 3 years, correct?
You're exactly right. It's across the board. You know, Texas Team Trail was just last weekend, and they have less than 200 entries, and that's unheard of for Texas Team Trail. Bass Champs, you know, I cringe every time I get the text from Bass Champs, and I see them get 130 teams at Lake Belton or somewhere off a little bit. And, man, you know, they used to average 300 teams on Rayburn, and this year on Rayburn, Bass Champs averaged 204 entries, which – guys, I think this is what we got to understand. 200 entries in a bass tournament is still awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've really gotten spoiled to the fact that if you don't get 200, well, something's wrong.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I say, we're spoiled. But, Steve, you know, to answer your question about is it forward-facing sonar, is it fuel prices, is it the economy, my answer is yes, 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 and yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're lining up for the perfect storm. And I really feel like that the numbers are back to average, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the stock market. Everybody's looking at the stock market and going, oh my gosh, it's down. We're crashing. Everything that goes up has to come down. Everything can't continue to go up. And in my opinion, I think contrary to where we are right now, I think the last 5 to 8 years has been the perfect situation for the growth of bass fishing, especially in East Texas. The economy was good. And I really hate to use this word, but I think it became a fad for a lot of people to buy a bass boat and enter fishing tournaments.
Right. No, you're right about that. And I agree with you 100%. And I said this before we brought you on, Clint. I think you can look, and just some reasons I have listed here, and we're going to get more into each one of them. Gas prices, forward-facing sonar, which we'll talk more about, high school fishing, to the number of trails to fish. You can, and busy schedules with people with kids nowadays. You can go down this list, and I think you can't say this one is the reason. This one, I think each reason takes 3 to 5 boats off every tournament.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
You know, the first one I think we all will agree on, Clint. Too many circuits, and Texas being what it is, I think. The success of Outlaw Outdoors, the success of Bass Champs, the success of Triple T, those circuits have probably spawned other people to saying, "Hey, man, I think I need to start a fishing tournament."
Well, but not only has it done that, Steve, it has made these big trails. You take a week and a half ago, the Big Bass Splash was on Toledo Bend.
Yeah.
35, 40 miles away, the Texas Team Trails on Sam Rayburn.
Exactly.
You know, so in these small tournaments that have taken up, and Clint, you know it's better than anybody, the small tournaments that have taken up the boat ramps and has reserved these boat ramps for people like TTT, they can't get a ramp that weekend, so they have to have it on a weekend that they really don't want to. Am I right, Clint?
That is 100% right. The Humphrey Pavilion is, what we all fight for on Rayburn. That's the premier pavilion where we all want on Rayburn. And I mean, obviously there's only 4, maybe 5 weekends a month, and SETX, the high school organization, gets one of those every month. And then, you take up, you take Champs, Texas Team Trail, Outlaw Outdoors, Coburn's tournament, and, those bigger type events. And that doesn't leave many open dates past that.
Yeah. I would hate to be a tournament director today and trying to schedule events in this region, because it's got to be a nightmare, Clint.
Well, it's, and I think we almost have it good because we only go to Rayburn. So we only have to fight for the Humphrey Pavilion. But, man, I don't envy, Chad and Jeff at Bass Champs and those guys at Texas Team Trail and even the small trails. You take Barbara with Angler's Quest, bless her heart, she goes to like 5 different lakes. And if I can't get the weekend I want at Rayburn, I just say, well, what's the next one you can give me? But it doesn't work like that for those organizations that go to multiple lakes, because all the pieces of the puzzle have to fit in place. Yeah,
Chris Wayham with ABA, I talked to him today, and he basically told me the same thing, that trying to schedule a ramp. He's got an event on a certain body of water he's trying to schedule for next year, and come to find out, this particular lake, if you had a tournament there the year before, you get priority over the same date for next year. And so he's having to wait before he can schedule and release the schedule for next year, because he's trying to go to a new body of water that he hadn't been to, and he's having trouble getting a date.
Sounds like Cypress Bend at Toledo Bend.
Yeah, exactly.
Clint, how far out, let's just say Humphrey Pavilion, how far out is it booked, or do you have to book it? Let's say you're going to have the Rattle Trap, one of your first tournaments of the year, in January next year. Have you already booked it?
Absolutely. Our whole schedule for 2023 is booked. Champs is booked. Everything at the Humphrey Pavilion is booked.
When did you have to book that? When did you start booking?
How far out will they take
for 2023, when did you start having to book that?
We started about 2 months ago, and we wrapped it up about a month ago. But with that said, I know where you're headed with this is, can I call Jimmy Clark, who is over the booking of the pavilion, and say, Miss Jimmy, I want this date for 2024 and this date for 2024. No, nobody can book dates for 2024 right now. They will only work basically a year out.
Yeah. So they work from year. Yeah. Okay.
So, and kind of staying on this topic, and so we're kind of on the too many trails, small area kind of thing right now. And I think you hit this nail on the head a while ago, Clint, when you said it was kind of the fab. Everybody, let's go tournament fishing. Well, not only was the fishing part of it, but the tournament trail was.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted, if Bass Champs can do that, I can go do that. If Outlaw Outdoors can do that, I can go do that. Or I think it'd be cool to do this or do it on this date. So all of a sudden, all these little tournament trails have popped up, and that has taken away from one another, no doubt.
It has. There's no doubt. People are spread out thinner, and it's punishing all of us as anglers, if you want to look at it like that. When I say punishing, I'm just saying the payouts. They suffer.
Yeah. And another thing that was brought up in our survey, forward-facing sonar. There are guys that said on this poll that we took, I'm not fishing because I can't compete with forward-facing sonar. And I was like, okay, now wait a minute. That's to me going to the extreme on this. But the one group of guys it's affecting that I never even thought about, if you're fishing a BFL or a Toyota Series as a co-angler and you draw a guy using forward-facing sonar in 30 foot of water, you are in deep trouble.
Well, and before you jump into this, Clint, let me say, and off that, Steve. So, don't get us wrong, guys. I have it. I have it on my boat. I know Clint has it on his boat. Steve has it on his boat. We're not saying forward-facing sonar is the devil here. We're not saying it's bad for the sport. We're not opening that can of worms yet.
No,
we're just saying this. We are hearing this, and I've heard it, and I know Clint's heard it, and I know Steve's heard it.
Yeah.
From guys, especially back January, February, especially, and that's when the tournament was really hurting. Every weekend, it was taking a mega bag to win it.
Yep.
And every weekend, we had the winners on here. Most every weekend, it was, I caught them all on forward-facing sonar. We had Cole Moore, who was probably back in January, February, was probably the hottest angler between Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend, catching 25 to 30-pound stringers every weekend. And he'll sit there and tell you, every fish I've caught for the last month, I've seen on my units.
Right.
And we're not saying this is a bad thing, and we're not saying that guys that are complaining that, they don't have it. It's not that they don't have it. They just don't care to fish that way.
Yeah.
They just don't care to fish like that. Therefore, they don't want to enter a tournament where they have to go do that, so they just don't enter it. That's all we're saying. And Clint, I'll let you take it from there.
I hear the same thing, Kevin, that you're saying is it's not knocking on the older guys, because I'm one of them. I put off forward-facing sonar as long as I could. And I fought it. I didn't want to learn it. But I finally realized, hey, if I'm going to be competitive, I need to start to learn it. Now, am I relying on it 100%? Absolutely not.
But what you just said right there, if I'm going to be competitive, I'm just going to. So you made that decision. But you got these other half of guys that are saying, I'm just not going to learn it. I'm just going fun fishing.
They can't afford it.
Or that's
the deal.
Yes. Either can't afford it or just not willing to afford it. Because when do we say enough is enough? When does the wife step up and say, gosh, guys, you put another $4,500 on the credit card? Why? What'd you buy? Oh, I just bought another electronics, another,
I've got to have that $4,500 to go pay this $500 to enter this tournament.
Yeah.
Yes.
And another thing that was brought up, Clint, was, will this technology, one guy posted on it, will it be banned? I'm like, no, that ain't going to happen.
Absolutely
They've invested too much money in sonar, these electronic companies, and sonar, advertisement, and anglers. It ain't going away. Nobody's going to cancel this.
So I've been confronted with that by a couple of old guys, and I use that term loosely, and they say, hey, man, why don't you ban it? And, of course, I humor them, and I say, yeah, okay, let's go down that road. Yeah. Let's say Outlaw Outdoors says no forward-facing sonar. Okay, how do you enforce that?
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you make that guy take that Garmin off the front of his boat?
Yeah.
What if that's his GPS? That's his only GPS navigation waypoint sonar up there.
Yeah.
So, it again, I have to look at it as a business. It's going to just make guys go, bass champs don't make me take off my forward-facing sonar. Why in the world would I fish Outlaw Outdoors and have to go through all that trouble? I'm going to stick with bass champs and all the other little tournaments out there that don't make me take it off.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm trying to help the fishermen, but at the end of the day, I'm the one that's suffering as a business owner.
But you have heard that as tournament director, guys just say, I'm just not fishing tournaments because I don't want to compete with that because it's not that I'm saying these guys are cheating or this sucks that fish going. They just don't want to.
I can't beat these kids. That's the phrase that I hear time and time again. I can't beat the what are they saying? They're playing the game out
the video
there.
game. Yeah.
The video game. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. No, and that's what we've heard, and I think and guys don't realize how much that is affecting them as far as the entries goes. I would say back in January, February, those big tournaments, I would bet 10 to 20 boats, Clint. I mean, give me your opinion.
That are not entering because of the fall.
Because of the fall, yeah.
Yes.
Back in January or February specifically.
Yes, I absolutely. Now, I want to argue the fact of, are those guys really catching every fish on using, the live scope?
Absolutely not.
No, and so I think there's more of a incorrect perception of it than there is actually getting beat by it. But I've said this for a long time now. Truth means nothing. Perception is everything.
Yeah.
So if guys think they're getting beat by the live scope, it doesn't matter if they're not or they are. It's what they think.
Yeah.
Right.
Clint, here's another thing. I'm going to take this in another direction, and I've got an analogy here I'll use. Back when I played a high level of softball, we traveled all over the South. I mean, it was Class A or major level softball, but it didn't matter if we went to Little Rock. It didn't matter if we went to Lafayette, Houston, Dallas. It didn't matter where we went. The same teams were always there that you had to beat. Now, it's the same scenario with these bass fishermen. You go to Rayburn, you got the same sticks you've got to constantly beat, and some guys have figured out, I can't compete with those guys on Rayburn. I can't beat those guys on Toledo Bend. So, because we're always going to those same big bodies of water, which are natural attractions, that has, I think, discouraged some guys from wanting to get in some of these tournaments.
I 100% agree with that as well. And here's what I think you can kind of sum up this whole conversation about tournament entries down. The majority of guys that come to Rayburn to fish tournaments, they know that they don't have a great chance to win first place.
Right.
They rely on a little luck to maybe get a check and get their money back, but they enjoy it. That male testosterone comes out, and they want to compete. And I'm one of them. I don't like to go practice. If there's a $50 jackpot at the tournament, at the ramp, I'm going to enter it even if I'm going out and practicing. I just want some kind of a competition.
Right.
But there comes a point to where everything gets so expensive to where that $50 jackpot, now it's cost you $60 to drive up to the lake and home. You're fixing to spend $40 or $50 in gas.
Yeah.
And not to mention, to be halfway competitive, you've got to be in a $50,000 bass boat.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm not saying it needs to be a new boat. If I did, I'd say a $90,000 boat.
Exactly.
But you've got to have latest and greatest equipment on it to be competitive.
Yeah.
So, again, they're coming up here hoping to win something in that $50 jackpot. They've already got $200 invested in it, and they're getting their brains beat out.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's the same people, like you referred to a while ago, the same locals that are beating their brains out. And there comes a point to where these guys go, it's not fun anymore, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, you look at Hayden Heck, who just won TTT. What was that? How many weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, he won the Toyota Series on Rayburn. He won an event the weekend before the Toyota Series. He's won every large event on Sam Rayburn the past month and a half.
But 3 years ago, I didn't know who Hayden Heck was.
Well,
all of a sudden, he's come out of nowhere.
He was 15 years old, probably 3 years
exactly, but that's my point. Here's another young stick that has learned how to fish that's coming up through the ranks. Yeah. And, all of a sudden, you got a new name. We had the Dickie Newberries and the Castledines and the Andrew Upshaws forever that we were trying to beat. And, of course, some of them have moved on. Castledine still hangs around. Upshaws show up every now and then. But the sticks over there that, the Albert Collins and Clayton Bullware and those kind of guys, I mean, when you back your boat in the water, and Clint, again, you make another good point. I know for me, and I've always looked at it, and if I win a tournament, things just went right for me. I mean, I can be competitive, but I'm not going to probably be in the top 3, top 5. I might make a top 10 every now and then. But what people don't understand about a circuit, and you can attest to this, Clint, it's not the top 10% that make a circuit. It's that other 90% of the field that doesn't get the big checks. That's what makes a circuit.
And that's why, as a tournament trail, you take care of those 90%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People have asked me, well, why do they pay so far down? And that's the top 10% complaining because they didn't make any more money. Let those guys get their gas money and hotel money back. I mean, if they get $300,
That's a win.
They come
That's
in 40. They're happy as a lark.
They just want to be there, and as Clint said, they want to be there and they want to compete.
Exactly.
If I can pay for that weekend of that, I mean, yes, they're not paying for their boat notes, but if they can pay their entry fee and gas, that's a win for them.
Exactly.
That's
for sure.
Win. And Clint, anything else I didn't mention or point of view you wanna bring up?
Something that we hadn't talked about is where are we headed? Are we going to continue to see numbers go down? And we're not going to be able to answer that because we're pretty much at the end of the season for 2022. So, I don't think for 6 months when tournaments start back in January or 7 months, will we know what the feeling is out there. And, we sure don't want to go off on this tangent, but we don't even know what the world's going to be like in 7 months.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well,
right.
And we live in a different day and age now as even 10 years ago as far as kids and what kids do. I mean, and look, I am your number one example, and Clint will be the first one to tell you. 10 years ago, and I fished every weekend. I was at Rayburn with Clint fishing one of his events. Me and Daryl was off somewhere. I was fishing a circuit by myself. I fished every weekend. My little girl was 3-4 years old. She's 11 now. Now she plays softball. Now she has this event. Now she has that event. I'm having to go be dad and do with her when I can't fish. I've maybe fished 4 tournaments this whole year, but it's life. Life happens now, and our kids are busier than they've ever been before.
Your priorities change,
right?
I mean, I did that all through the 90s.
Right.
I coached a travel team. I coached a girls' fast pitch travel team.
But I think I
know what you're talking about.
But it's more now even than it was then. And Clint, I know you hear it every weekend. Well, my kids have got this,
Yep. Well, Kevin, this is kind of a funny example, but, obviously Outlaw Outdoors produced the V&M tournament about a month ago, and during the middle of the day, Kevin, what were we doing?
We were on the Outlaw Outdoors stage watching my daughter's softball game live.
Yeah.
Right. So there's your priorities,
Yeah. So it's a little bit of everything. I don't think we can point to one, but the point is everything we have going on is just starting to finally take away. But I do like your question there, Clint. Where are we headed with this? Are we going to get back to that 300 boat field, or is 200 the new norm?
No, are some circuits going to fall by the wayside?
I want to think the answer to that is some of the smaller trails will disappear, and maybe a handful of them will, but I don't think so. I think your smaller trails are really going to suffer less than us bigger trails.
Right.
Yeah.
I do agree with that because I actually fish in a smaller trail, the ABAs, and we used to have 100 boats to 125 boats, but now we're down probably in the 60s and 70s. But it's the same 60 and 70. It's a loyal group of anglers that like fishing ABA events, and they're staying true and loyal to ABA.
I'll give you a great example right there on Rayburn, that RTT tournament. He has about 2 a month now, and his numbers are consistently between 30 and 40. And that's where Rusty wants to be. He don't want to get any bigger.
Yeah.
And there's guys, you're always going to find 30 or 40 guys. It can be 18 degrees and raining, and you're going to get 40 guys on Rayburn.
And what's his entry fee?
$120.
Exactly.
And I think that's a great thing to point out.
Yeah.
That's $60 a man.
Yeah.
$60 and no membership,
very affordable,
all that stuff. So that's affordable.
And you probably don't have Todd Castledine,
Well,
Clayton Bullware, and Albert Collins. You're not going to have a lot of those big sticks in those events.
They're going to have as many.
Yeah.
Not going to have as many for sure.
So
you have Hayden Heck, though, bringing in 32 pounds.
Okay, he needs to be banned. We got to ban him from Rayburn.
I tell you, this is getting really off on something different, but I want to say something about Hayden. He's taken a beating in some of the other podcasts here lately, and I don't think anybody realizes the time that Hayden spends on that lake.
Yeah.
Hayden and his granddaddy moved here from California. His granddaddy bought a place on the south side of Lufkin and bought Hayden a Phoenix bass boat. And Hayden wanted to fish. That was it. And Hayden fishes about 6 days a week. He's down here at daylight fishing, and he goes home and he does not watch TV. He watches YouTube videos. He doesn't have a girlfriend. And I'm not knocking him about that. I'm almost envious because the guy is very successful, but he's putting in his time. People that don't don't see him out there on the middle of the day on a Tuesday or a Thursday.
Well, it sounds like he's got a dream too. He probably wants to get to the highest level.
And he's accomplished a lot because of the time and dedication he has put into it.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, you're right. You're right about that.
Clint, we appreciate you, man. Thank you for all your input. And hey, again, great job with Outlaw Outdoors. You guys do an awesome job.
Well, thank you, Steve. Kevin, appreciate you guys having me on again.
Thanks, bud.
See ya.
All right, that was Clint Wade of Outlaw Outdoors. And coming up next, we will have Mark McWha, the Toyota Series director with MLF. And we'll see what Mark's got to say when we return with more Tackle Talk Live.
Are you looking for the finest custom-built rods ever made? Then look no further than Pride Rods. Fishing rods built to last and made in Montgomery, Texas. Constructed by Mr. Billy Kistler with the finest Gary Loomis North Fork composite blanks available. They offer a complete line of both spinning and casting rods for both fresh and salt water. Pride Rods do more than pass the eye test. They excel in performance as well. Ask your local tackle dealer if they carry Pride Rods and pick one up and try it for yourself. You'll see why so many anglers are using Pride Rods. To learn more, go to priderods.com or call 832-418-6040. The next time you're headed for Toledo Bend or Sam Rayburn, stop by Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle. They have an awesome supply of everything you'll need to catch the big ones. Whether your trip calls for bass fishing, white perch tackle, catfish bait, or the ultimate fighting shiners, Keith's Tackle has you covered. Keith and former Elite Series pro Ben Matsubu also have the latest information on what, how, and where you need to be fishing on Sam Rayburn or the Bend. So for all your tackle needs, check out Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle, located just off Highway 21 on the Texas side of Toledo Bend, or call 409-625-0181. The Lakes Insurance Agency is an independent insurance agency that has been taking care of Texans' insurance needs for over 25 years, offering auto, homeowners, boat, RV, life, health, and commercial insurance. Owner Clark Moore is a local guide and tournament angler who understands your insurance needs and wants to be your go-to guy for all your insurance needs. For a free quote, give him a call and see why so many Texans trust the Lake Insurance Agency. Located at 805 Southeast Stalling Suite 3, Nacogdoches, Texas, or call 936-205-4467. You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Now back to the guys with all the inside scoop, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
You're watching Tackle Talk Live. Thank you for tuning us in. Again, I'm Ranger Diver Pro Staffer Steve Graff, along with V&M General Manager Kevin Jean. This segment presented by Pride Rods, Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle, and the Lakes Insurance of Nacogdoches, Texas. 2 locations, Broadus and Nacogdoches. Check them out. Great insurance. And if you're looking for some boat insurance, that new boat you just bought, yeah, make sure you get that insured, because it's you may need it on all these lakes that we fish.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for all you guys, all your support. On the phone on Tackle Talk Hotline, we've got Toyota Series Tournament Director Mark McWha with Major League Fishing. And Mark, man, hey, thanks for joining. We appreciate you. And Mark, I talked to you earlier, talked about kind of what our topic is here today about why our tournament numbers and down in participation. And Mark, in your opinion, what is the number one reason in your opinion?
You know, first of all, Steve, thanks for having me on. You and Kevin both, proud to be part of it. But yeah, to answer your question, it's a number of things. Fuel prices obviously is the main contributor. It's in our lap right now. Our Toyota Series numbers, fortunately for us here at Major League Fishing, are through the roof. To be honest, you know, our Southwestern division where you guys are at, they were off just a little bit. You know, I'm not sure what the
And Mark,
reason was.
that's what I want to bring up to you. And this is me and Steve talked about guests we wanted to have on this topic. And I wanted to we just had Clint Wade on from Outlaw Outdoors, who is here. We kind of got his thoughts on what's going on here. I want to hear from you on what's going on with East Texas. I know your numbers are down in East Texas, but you just came from Guntersville where y'all were full. And everywhere else you go, y'all are full, but East Texas is down. Do you have an opinion on why or what's called? It's nothing you're doing here. It's everything here is down, Mark. And again, every tournament trail that has came to Sam Rayburn since January is down.
Yeah, Typically, we in our Southwest division over there, the last couple of years, we've tried to have 2 events at Sam Rayburn because obviously we're numbers driven, and that's our number 1 draw over there. But maybe it's time to branch out a little bit, change that schedule up a little bit. I mean, every weekend on Sam Rayburn, as you guys know, there's a major tournament, a quality tournament where you can fish for a whole lot of money, and it may be just time for a change, but I don't know. We'll just have to kind of kick it around and see what we can come up with for 2023.
Well, Mark, you talk about your numbers were good, and again, folks, we're talking the Toyota Series. That's a very high level. That's one
you're
step.
Trying to qualify.
And you got guys that fish for a living that are fishing on Toyota Series, so it's probably not a good comparison to the circuits like Bass Champs, Triple T. The PTO tour, the Outlaw Outdoors, it's probably not a fair comparison because there are guys fishing the Toyota Series that are doing this for a living. And so their numbers, and they're committed to whatever they got to do, wherever they got to go. But for one guy pointed out to me, Mark, and me and you talked about this, the forward-facing sonar for co-anglers. I never thought about it from a co-angler's viewpoint, but it's almost as bad as drawing a guy that's sight fishing. And as a guy who fished FLW Tour as a co-angler years ago on a major tour, I remember the first time I drew a sight fisherman, I was absolutely miserable. I mean, it was a long day. I felt like I gave my money away. It just didn't seem right. And these forward-facing sonar guys are doing the same thing, but out in open water to a co-angler.
Yeah, that's right. We do hear some complaints about that, but my response is always the same. I mean, that guy, you're in open water. As far as a co-angler, you got that pro up there in front of you. He's making the repetitive cast, the same cast over and over, throwing at a single fish or a group of fish, and you still got, we don't have the 90-degree rule per se, like some draw formats do. I mean, you can cast anywhere on the boat, and, I just tell them, I said, look, you still got ample water to throw at. It may not be the most ideal water to throw at in the world, but I promise you there's other fish around the boat than that single fish or single group of fish that pro's casting at.
Yeah. And that sounds good, unless you're the co-angler in the
So
back
have
of the
you
boat.
had any problems, Mark, getting co-anglers now with all this forward-facing sonar?
Yeah, good question.
We luckily, as a whole, I've not had an event this season where I've had to send a pro home simply because I didn't have enough co-anglers. So we've evened every field for this season. So we're proud of that. We're tickled to death at that point. But it's a deal. It's
going to get tougher.
The advancement of the whole game. It's just something that we're going to have to adapt. Even the co-anglers are going to have to adapt. I tournament fish as well, and I fished a tournament on Lake Washita this early season where it was an offshore live scope deal, where everybody was doing it. And, I fished with the guy. I was in the back of the boat, and I'll be 100% honest. I mean, I caught fish behind that guy. He was looking at a single piece of structure and 30 feet of water, and I was just kind of fan casting around. Yeah, just a loose fish, that might have veered off of that cover. And, I mean, I caught fish behind him, without even looking at it,
Yeah.
Drop shot, spoon, or that kind of stuff. They're out there to be caught. You gotta. I think a lot of people let it get in their head first and foremost, and if you let that happen, it could be that you're beat before you ever make your first cast.
Yeah.
Mark, another question:
Yes,
are there enough anglers? Is there enough of the next generation coming up to sustain all these circuits that are going on especially across the South? We got the high school fishing coming on. But some of those kids are getting so discouraged at a very young age because they're not doing good at an early age, so they just quit fishing altogether. Kevin Van Dam pointed that out to me. He said, we've reached the peak of high school bass fishing. The peak has already occurred because these kids want instant success, and when they don't get it, they tend to quit whatever they're doing. And I thought, wow, that's a great viewpoint.
Yeah, that does. That makes sense. But, every event I go to, I always try to make a point. It's probably not a huge number, but not necessarily a high school or college age kid, but there's a lot of early 20s, mid 20-year-old kids that are out there doing it, and you know they're hard to beat. You know, they got a lot of drive, they put their time in.
Yeah.
But I mean, every Toyota Series event I go to, there's a teenager in that top 25. You know, so there's plenty of them out there that are doing well.
Yeah. Mark, scheduling, talking like East Texas, Sam Rayburn, you know, how hard is it getting for you to schedule events there with the amount of tournaments coming to Toledo Bend? It's almost getting where it's I mean, it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to get, especially two like you've been doing the past several years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. You know, we just look at it, and actually we've started, you know, due to scheduling the amount of volume of tournaments on the weekends, especially at Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, those bodies of water. We've actually started kind of doing some Wednesday, Thursday, Friday events.
Yeah.
And, you know, people tend to like it, you know, so far. We haven't had any negative feedback on it. I think the pros probably more than co-anglers, because I feel like they typically take the full week off of that week anyway, where a co-angler, he may or may not take off. He may just show up the night before the tournament starts, and take a couple days. But as far as the pros go, I mean, I feel like they love that because they can get their Wednesday, Thursday, top 25 on Friday, and go fish something at home on the weekend.
Right. Well, Mark, do you? I totally drew a blank off the top of my head. I had a question in my head that I wanted to get to. You know, with high school bass fishing, you know, you got so many dads that have come off these tournament trails to help their kids and try to bring their kids along. I know when I was playing softball, a lot of us quit playing softball because we had kids playing ball, so we started coaching ourselves, and there was not enough people behind us to sustain that high level of softball anymore. It's almost disappeared. Do you see the same thing going on with Toyota Series? Are there guys pulling out to maybe work with their kids more?
Yeah, definitely. We do see that. But, you know, I've been in the game long enough now that I've seen some of these guys, you know, that I knew back in my early career, you know, when you're running the BFL tournaments. Well, now they've raised their kids. Their kids are out of school now. Now I'm starting to see those guys kind of filter back, and it's pretty cool to see that, you know, and even, you know, see a lot of father-son guys fishing, you know, in those events.
Yeah. Well, Mark, when you said you might have to look at some other options next year for the Toyota Series, let me go ahead and help you there. So instead of 2 on Rayburn, let's get 1 on Toledo. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that out there. Let's just get 1 on Toledo. We got plenty of open dates, Mark.
Yeah, but what the deal with Toledo Bend, there are so many recurring events that they're grandfathered in to the dates. You know, the BFLs, we can make it work over at San Miguel or some other places, but I mean, to get a date at Cypress Bend for us is just next to impossible, because I think they look at us like we're aliens or something when we try to come over there, because all the local stuff has got every good date booked up 2 years in advance, and we just can't book like that.
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, Mark, hey, man, we appreciate your input. Thank you for your expertise. And because we know, if anybody will know, you as a tournament director on a high level, see it all, and you kind of came up through the ranks with the BFLs. And so I know you've been around this game a long time. And, again, we appreciate your feedback, and look forward to seeing what our viewers have to say after watching this episode. I'm anxious to see what kind of feedback we get.
Yeah, well, good deal. Thanks again for having me on. Anytime, fellas.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Mark McWha.
See you guys soon.
That's Mark McWha, Major League Fishing Tournament Director for the Toyota Series. And we appreciate Mark taking the time to join us today. And well, Kevin, I mean, I don't know what else we can say. I mean, we pretty much covered it all in terms of.
Yeah, and I like to hear Mark's perspective as an outsider, I guess, looking in on our area, compared to Clint as an insider of our area. Kind of gives everybody a kind of a view, I guess, everybody's view. But, you know, I think I go back to, Steve, there are so many things going on nowadays. The times have changed, and there's so much going on. Again, the gas prices and the amount of tournament trails, the forward-facing sonar stuff we talked about, the high school fishing, just busy schedule with kids. I think all of it together has started taking a toll, especially here in the East Texas, Louisiana region, where you take 3 to 5 boats off every turn because of each of those topics.
Yeah. And I think, too, I'm wondering who's going to fall by the wayside. Well, he pointed out, what's the circuit? They draw 40 or 50 boats.
Yeah, RTT. Yeah,
RTT. I mean, if they're happy with that and they're okay with then
he's probably got a crowd that's happy fishing that.
Well, and he's probably not in it to make a bunch of money.
No.
So he's putting on something that he enjoys doing, and there are guys out there that they're going to be perfectly happy as long as they keep drawing their X number of boats. They're happy. They don't need 250 boat fields. So, but it was very interesting to hear the take between Clint Wade and Mark McWha again. And again, we do welcome your comments.
Yeah, let us hear your comments on our YouTube, especially. It's easier for us to go back and see on the YouTube video. Make a comment on it. We want to hear yours. This is something we might visit. We might come back and visit, Steve.
Oh yeah.
So definitely want to hear some more topics.
Maybe a recap of this the next week. So coming up, June 4th and 5th, Outlaw Team Championship. Team Championship is coming up this weekend on Humphrey Pavilion. June 4th, also the ABA Open Series number 3 will be at that's South Texas Division. Will be out of Castle Boykin. June the 11th, ABA Open Series number 4. We're back-to-back weekends, South Texas Division, also out of Castle Boykin. On June the 12th, Outlaw Outdoors Average Joe, Kevin, that I think you participated in that before.
I have, and that's a different event, guys. You need to make sure you go to their website or go to their Facebook page to check out the rules on that. It is only certain people are allowed to fish that. It's a money deal. If you've won so much money on Sam Rayburn in this calendar year, you're not able to fish it. So go to their website, Outlaw Outdoors, and check out the rules for that tournament.
And June 17th, 18th, ABA Solo 150. It's the last one of the season. Look, the schedule's coming out for this next year. We know the lakes. It's going Rayburn, Lake of the Pines, and Toledo Bend. We know those three. I don't know what order, but we know those 3 lakes, and we don't know the dates yet. But I'm just telling you, if you're looking to fish this for next year, I highly encourage you to jump in this last event, the Solo 150 on Sam Rayburn. It's out of Castle Boykin. June 17th and 18th, just to get a feel for what it's really like and see how well run that circuit is. Again, Chris Wayan with the ABA runs this circuit and does a wonderful job. So, and then on June 18th, on Sunday, Outlaw Outdoors Father's Day Tournament out of Humphrey Pavilion.
Mm-hmm. Get registered, Bass Cash Bass. If you haven't yet, still time, Toledo Bend. I know several other lakes that go through July 4th. Make sure you get registered.
Thank you for tuning us in. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, podcast. If you'd like to become a member of our sponsorship team, make sure you message us on Facebook. Kevin will get a packet out to you ASAP. For James Stanfield, our producer, Kevin Jean, yours truly, Steve Grau. Thank you for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. We'll see you next week with more Tackle Talk Live.